Today's topic will start with very important topic, TMG events. Have you ever heard it? TMG events.
No, I haven't heard about it.
We know this thing,
We
na?
know this
We
thing,
know this guy, TMG, table maintenance
table
generator,
maintenance. Hmm.
and it is for maintenance purpose because we are not going to allow the end users or customer to access my table from AC11 or AC16 or AC16 and transaction codes. That is why I simply created a TMG and I have given the access of SM30 to them. So can I say that this TMG event might be related to TMG, right?
Hmm.
Now let's just separate these things. We know TMG, it is table maintenance generator. Table maintenance generator. And then event. What do you think a event is? What is an event? Let's say doing something, right? Or
Hmm.
something is being or something is happening. Can I say it?
Yes, like clicking on something.
Yeah.
Or,
Event, see, whenever we go for anything now, just open your SAP logon. Just open your SAP logon and just log into your system. How do you think my system is realizing that this Amrit 01 credential is being given here? How do you think this my system is able to understand it? There must be a logic written in the background, right? And when I pressed enter, that function or logic got triggered and it checked for the accessibility of my credentials. And if it was found, then it allowed me to enter this SAP EG access part, right? If
yes,
I am clicking on this button, can I say there is a logic written behind this particular button, which is telling my system that you want to log out from the system?
yes,
This is the concept of event, guys. Event is always triggered when a user performs any action on the system. Action can be anything like scrolling mouse or clicking on any button, or let's say anything like you click on any button or perform any action, or if some amount of time has been reached. So if I let my system just open for like 10 to 15 minutes and I am not performing this any action over this system, it will be logged out automatically, right? It will be logged
hmm,
out automatically because what my system the setting that my basis team has given here is so that the amount of time it is taking, I eventually have to pay the amount to SAP. So to reduce that effort, if a user is not performing any action, what we can do is after 10 to 15 minutes let the system be logged off. So two ways any event can be triggered: if a specific action is being performed or a time is being reached, if some time has been reached. Let me just open the documents and show it to you. Yeah, TMG events. So event is always triggered by a specific action or specific occurrence when a particular time has been. Either user is performing some action like mouse click or pressing any key, or let's say pressing any enter, then event can be triggered, or a particular time has been reached. Anything, it doesn't, if you are not even working with SAP, everywhere in other technology also event part is always there, event always triggers when you perform any actions. The same stuff is there with TMG events, and let's understand why we need it. So if I go to my table, my employee table, what I can see here, I have 105 records, right? I have 105 records. Sorry, from 101 to 105, total 5 records are there. Now, if you compare this other columns, department, manager, salary, and currency, all the values of these columns are same, right? All the values of these columns are same
Mhm.
na. So instead of writing every time the value inside the column when we are inserting new rows, if we write a logic behind the system so that my system can realize that if a new entry is being entered, let's say employee ID and employee name is being entered by the user, just simply paste the data from the above, or simply let's just paste the data from the above so that the user has no longer, the user is not required to write the logic for these things again. So every time when a user will enter a new record, automatically data will pop up here in these columns. Isn't this thing beautiful? Just I am explaining this thing at a very short level, but just compare with some other tables. When you are, let's say, required to enter data like 1000 of data, then at that time entering in every column can be hectic. So if I already know that I can manipulate these things with the logic part, I can write backend logic behind the system using the TMG event. Why should we not use that? We should use these things, na?
Mhm.
So this is the purpose of TMG event here. That if I am pressing any enter button, I can trigger the event. That even in the event, we can write logic that, let's say, if any new entry is being done here, automatic data should pop up over these columns. Automatic data should pop up over these columns. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's see how we can achieve this. Let's see how we can achieve it. How we can see our events, how we can see our TMG event. So if you want to see your TMG event, you can simply go to SE54 transaction code. See here guys, generate table maintenance dialog. And you can see here, we have a radio button called events. This particular section is for various other purpose also, but our purpose currently is only events. And one more important point here guys, we are directly entering behind the table, directly entering behind the table logic, the table that we have created, this one we are directly entering behind the logic. So please this is very sensitive approach. If you will just not follow the step and do any other wrong activity here, automatically there is a chance your table can be deleted or all the data can be removed. So this is a very sensitive way. So always follow the correct step. If you will click on display button here, what you are going to see, no entries found, right? There is no event currently. No event has been created by us yet, right?
Mhm.
So we will create our event. I will click on this create button and see the table is cross client. Click on OK. And now see, do not make any changes. We are directly going inside the table section, because I told you earlier, whenever you are creating any database object, by default a backend logic at the runtime a program is being written behind the system. So SAP is writing all the programs. So we, for the TMG events, we are directly going inside that logic to inside that particular program to create our own logic using the concept of event. Now click on OK and see. Currently there is no event. So let's create our own event. I will click on this new entry. By default, this thing will change to edit mode. Now see here, if you will click on this particular icon, you are going to see here a lot of drop down boxes are there. So according to the requirement, whatever the requirement your client is going to give, you can select all the whatever the step you are going to do. But for my requirement, whenever I want to go for new entry, what I want is some data should be pop up automatically. So I will go for this 05 option, creating a new entry. Okay. And in this
Mhm.
form routine, we will give a method name or a form name. Simple. Whatever this method name will be there, we are going to use the same method to write the logic inside the editor part. So let's say get data. I will be giving the method name here as get data, and simply copy it and press enter. As soon as you will press enter, see here, by default editor will appear. Okay. Now click on
Mhm.
save button. automatic a prompt workbench request will come. Press enter so that your data, this particular section of code can be saved over the transport request. Now we can go inside the editor part and just select a new include. Just select this one, go for OK. See the pop-up warning message, guys. In program SAP, just see here, SAPL and your table name. Just one important point here. Whatever table name you are going to create now, by default, system will generate a program with your SAPL, starting with SAPL and followed by your table name. A program is generated. So since we are going to write a logic inside this particular program, so this section of code will be inserted now inside this particular program generated by SAP. Now click on OK and we will enter the editor. Here we are going to write our logic. Okay. What should be my logic? I need some suggestion from you. What should be my logic here? First, what was my method name? This is a method I have given there, get data. So form and form. We will discuss this thing in a separate chapter, but again, this is the concept of TMG event. So I just want you to understand how we are using the concept of TMG event here. Okay. Now form get data is here. So my question is what should be the logic? How should I proceed toward it? What should be my logic here and how I will proceed? I need some suggestion. Please tell me.
So field n, value of field n is equal to value of field n minus 1
A
or
value
row
of
minus,
field equal to n minus 1.
no,
I
value
am
of
not
field,
getting.
the current field is equal to value of the field n minus 1 or row minus 1.
No, no, no. We can directly enter data here. We not need to like fetch data from above columns. What should be my logic now? Our logic will be like this, that if this particular column employee ID and employee name is not empty, can I simply write directly the value of these four columns inside the table? This is my logic now. If I am entering any new records with this employee ID and employee name, by default I want a value should pop up inside these columns, right? This was my requirement. This was my requirement now. Are you guys listening? So this was
Yes.
my requirement. So what I will do simply here is, if, see here how I am proceeding it. If this table name, if this table name hyphen column name, which is employee ID, is not initial, and again table name hyphen column name is not initial. Is not initial is a again technical word in ABAP which simply means is not empty. So what I am telling to system is, if the column employee ID of my table is not empty and if the column employee name of my table is not empty, then I can simply get some data directly inside these columns. So what are my columns? First one is department. So table name hyphen department is equal to SAP ABAP. By default, the data will pop up there. Again, table name hyphen manager. Let's say Amrit Raj. This were the value we are giving now.
Mhm.
So again, table name hyphen salary is equal to any value that you want. Let's say again 10,000 point 00, and at last currency column is equal to US dollar. So if this column is not empty and if this column is not empty, I want these four columns should be popped out automatically. So I'm simply passing some value. Guys, I'm going to explain every stuff, how we will write program, what is my approach. But again, this is just for, I just want to show you how TMG event works. Once the programming part will be done, you will be easily able to write these codes. So let's check the syntax. If there is any error, no error, I will activate it. Again, if you are going for TMG event and when you are going to activate your program, don't forget to activate this SAP standard program also, which has been written for your table, because this particular include is being inserted here. So this will also change to an inactive mode. Okay, so we are required to activate this program also. Now click on OK button. Object activated. We can ignore the warnings. Now just go to SM30 and see the magic. Just go to SM30. Edit. Enter new entries. Give any name. 106. Let's say I'm giving a name here as my friend Buddhi. And I will press enter. See guys. Mukul. Ellen. Are the data coming automatically? What do you think? What is happening here? Let me just show you again a beautiful concept of any programming, which is debugging. Just see what is happening here. I'm putting a debugger and I'm again going for new entry. Let's say this time I'm giving a name here as Rohit and I will press enter. We entered the debugging mode and see what is happening here. If I will click on this icon, if I'm clicking on this employee tab hyphen employee ID and I will press enter, see here 109 is coming, right? 109 is the value that I have entered there. And if I will go for this employee name, this time Rohit should come. By default, see Rohit is coming. So what my condition is checking here, ki if this particular column is not empty and if this particular column is not empty, we are directly passing these values over the columns. So when I will go inside this section, I can see how this thing is working. And now when I will click on execute button, by default, I will get the output. Is this thing clear?
I
Very
just have
beautiful concept. Yeah, please tell me.
one question. In this case, the employer ID and the employer name um, was filled though, right? Okay, if it's not initial. Okay, I understand. So in this case, it's right
It is
that it
not
added your
empty.
entry.
It is
Mhm.
initial simply means not empty. If
Yes.
a guy is entering any value, by default, the logic will trigger and you are going to get those output.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I understand now. Thanks.
TMG events are very crucial and highly used in case of some standard projects. But again, if you are doing any kind of mistake, your entire code or entire table can be lost here. So steps are very crucial. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, is it clear?
Yes.
Mukul,
Yes.
are you guys seeing this for the first time?
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
A
First
lot
time.
of thing, guys. A lot of thing you will also see for the first time, and I might also see for the first time because SAP screens are like very boring in nature. Nobody enjoys this. So next topic here, we have another topic which is creating our own transaction codes. Did you have heard this? Creating our own transaction codes, our
I've
own
heard about it.
Okay. Now let's say we created our TMG and we have given the access of SM30 so that my user can manage it data from SM30 transaction code. But let's say due to some situation, I don't want to give the access of SM30 also, because it can be possible na, that let's say my company don't want to give the access. So what my company can do is they can directly create a transaction code, and when a user will directly enter the transaction code, they will directly enter the change mode of this table. Okay. and they will be
Mhm.
able to maintain the data. So instead of giving SM30 access, because SM30 again here they can pass any table now, any table, any custom table, right? They can get the access of project details, they can get the access of anything. So it can be like a difficult one, and it can cause trouble later. They can pass your view also, right? So
Mhm.
instead of giving access, there can be a situation that I don't want to give access of SM30 also now. So what I can simply do is I can create our own transaction code. I can simply create a transaction code and I will be share the details where I will create the transaction code. From where we create the transaction codes. My question, from where do we create transaction codes, guys? Please think on it. From
There
where
must
do we,
be there
what?
must be again another transaction where we can assign transaction codes to some program, right?
Yes, definitely. For everything, we have transaction codes now. SE11 is there, SE38 is there for some purpose, SE54 was there, we saw the TMG events. Now we have a separate transaction code called SE93, which is used for maintaining transactions. Okay,
Mhm.
maintaining transaction. So if you want to see the backend program of any transaction code, either if it is standard or even it is, let's say it is custom, you can directly go to SE93 and you will be able to see it. Let me just show you guys. If I go to SE93 here, and let's say I'm passing SE11, this is my transaction code for ABAP dictionary, right? If I will click on this display button, is there a program here?
Mhm.
Is there a program here? It is now. And if you will click on this button, see here, the backend logic is calling a method. It is calling something authorization check. If you will go inside this method, you are going to see certain logic. It is calling a function. If you will go inside this function, again, it is calling certain something. A function within a function, method within a method, module within a module. A lot of stuff is going on, right? And this is a standard program because it is not starting with Z sign. SE11 transaction code, guys. SE11 transaction code. So here you can create your own transaction code. Let's start with Z and say Z employee transaction. Okay, transaction, transaction. I will go for create button. Again, a pop-up screen will come. First thing always, whenever we go for creating anything, short description will always be there. So I will say, let's say transaction code for employee table. We can create transaction code for table also. And now see here, we have got 5 radio buttons. What do you think? Which radio button should I select? Please just focus on these things. Which radio button should I select for table? If I am creating a transaction code for table, which radio button should I select?
Transaction with parameters.
Yeah, transaction with parameters. Good. See here, this guy is there for module pool programming. This is there for report SE38 creation, or for this one is for object oriented, and this is for some variant. When we go for creating variant, then we see here, and then we have this transaction with parameters. This is used for table. Let's say if an interviewer is directly asking a question, what will be your step to create a transaction code? What will be the answer? You will go to SE93, you will pass the transaction code name here, will go for create button, give a short description, you will select this radio button transaction with parameter, click on OK, and here this screen will appear. Now see transaction. So for creating any transaction code for employee table, here we pass the SM30X. Okay, SM30, and click on skip initial screen so that my user can directly go to change mode of SM30 and they will be able to directly maintain data, and I will no longer need to give them SM30 access. Okay, okay. Now two important things. GUI support. Always when you create any transaction code, please enable all the GUI support, because it can be possible that some of the guy which is using the SAP system might be using some other GUIs which we don't know. So at that time they might not be able to use this particular transaction code if all the GUI support is not enabled. So please enable all the GUI support. Now the second thing is two important values we are required to pass in case of our transaction code for table. First, what we are required to pass here? Can anybody tell me? First is your table name. And for your table name, you will pass here a field called view name and its value. Simply call the table name here, copy the table name and paste it here. Another thing is another property here called update, so that my client can update the table, and we will pass here value true. Do you know that in ABAP true means X? Do you know? Okay, no issue.
Is it only with X, or are there other ways too, like one or
No, 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 no. That is not there.
only X, right?
X, and
Okay.
for false we have like space, a
I
single
didn't
character
know.
space.
Hmm.
Or you
I mean,
can
I've
simply
seen it,
pass here
but I
ABAP
thought
underscore true. Okay, same
that works
stuff.
too.
Yeah,
Okay,
but its value is again X only.
I see.
This is a new feature which was later on introduced, but earlier X is being used. We will see these things in our programming part, but just for
And
now,
for force, it's always the spacebar, or can it also be zero, for example, or
ABAP
ABAP
dot
force?
false. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Mhm.
Let's say click on save and sign the package, training, enter, and your transaction is ready. Now simply copy it and see how it is going to work. Press here and press enter. Now is it clear how we can create transaction codes?
So this
What did you
view
just paste?
name, sorry.
View name
Yep.
here, yeah, this is a property called view name, and here we pass the table. It's like a standard approach to create these things. Okay,
This view
yeah.
name, were you able to get from the F1 help or
Let me show here. Let's go F4 here. Okay, these are some fields, and it is used for table view name, and for this one we are updating it. So once we want to update our table, so that my you updating simply means I am giving access of update to my uh, clients or customer, whatever they are. So usually when we create see here, this thing is very rare for creating transaction codes for table, very rare purpose, but there might be a requirement, so I wanted you to know it. And by default you can see here a screen number is coming which is 0.
Mhm.
So 0 is, do you remember when we created TMG, either we get screen number 1 or 2 kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
So here 0 screen always comes automatically. I didn't pass it, it came automatically. Very easy way. Some only 4 to 5 steps are there to create a transaction code. When you will enter here, pass the SM30, select the GUI support, and for these two fields, just pass the values. Click on save, assign the package and transport request. Your transaction code will be ready. Okay.
Mhm.
Now last topic for this very basic chapter, which is database utility. I think you guys know it. Database utility. Database utility. What do you think? What is database utility here?
Is it some kind of setup for the using the database,
No,
or
no
some tool?
setup. We are not going to do any setup or anything.
Okay.
Tell
Any kind
me,
of tool?
just try to relate it. We are on application layer, right?
Hmm.
We are using the ABAP dictionary here.
Yes.
How do you think? this guy is being connected with the database, and if I am any performing any changes, how it is being reflected over the database? Who is responsible for this? Who is responsible for it? Whatever thing I'm creating here, I'm creating a table here, table is being created inside the database there. I'm storing some data, data will be stored, I'm performing some changes over here, all the changes will be stored there. So who is responsible for that? Who is taking care of all these things?
Connector between the application server and the database server, right?
Yes, a connector is responsible for that, and that particular connector is your database utility. That particular connector is your database utility. The database utility acts as an interface between ABAP dictionary and the database. It acts as an interface. This is your database, this is your ABAP dictionary, and this guy is acting as an interface. And the purpose of database utility is to allow us to edit the database object. Edit the database object. Okay, edit the database object. Let's say there can be a requirement. I have created this particular table. I have passed here character 40. Now, if I am to change, if I am to change the length of this particular thing, if I am to change the length of this column, what do you think? How my system will respond to this particular change? Will it allow me? Will it allow me? If I will directly go here and let's say I am simply changing its value, I'm simply changing its value to character 30. What do you think? Will my system allow it? If I will click on activate button, what is the message I am getting? What is the message I am getting? Error occurred when activating. Click on OK. What it is saying me, structure change at the field level for this particular table, right? The reason here is when I created my table, when I created my table, at that particular time, a structure and a table was created inside this particular database. Now here I am trying to change it. Okay, I'm simply changing it. So if you want that particular change to save over the database also, we will go to this database utility. We will go to this database utility and I will ask him and I will request him, hey brother, I have come here, please edit the database object because the requirement has been changed by the customer. They want me to change the length. Okay. So a very special transaction code SE14 is there. We can go there and edit it. We can go there, and this transaction code is very important, guys. If you are just performing anything by mistakes here, delete the database table. Your entire database table can be deleted. Okay, so here we have a button called activate and adjust database. So what was the error I was getting here? What was the error I'm getting here? If I am activating my table, what is the error I'm getting when I'm going activating the do a data element here? It is saying me structure change at field level. It will always tell you the table name here. If this particular data element is being used at multiple tables, all the tables name will appear here in this red color. So you will have to go to SE14 and you will have to click on activate and adjust for all those particular tables. Okay, so now this database utility will adjust the changes to the database, and once it is adjusted, now you can go back and activate your data element. See here, object activated, right? Error has been removed, and the changes that I have made here will automatically come. Very important concept, database utility. SE14 is the transaction code. You can perform any changes. And guys, a very precaution here is just follow this precaution while playing with this particular SE14 transaction code. The precaution here is do not, just see here, do not perform any database operation on the table while performing the database utility. Otherwise your complete, I mean it, complete data can be lost. Is it possible or not? Let's say I'm performing here activation part, some activation part I'm doing here. At the same time, a program is being executed from SE38 over this particular table. So here some adjustment is being done. So it is possible or not, all the data can be deleted because we are directly playing with the database now because of this database utility.
Mhm.
So it is a very
Yes.
risky approach. This is a precaution. Never ever perform any database operation while you are doing anything with SE14. Precaution. It is very critical task because you are directly adjusting the database layer. Okay, very critical task because you are directly adjusting the database layer. So one more important step, guys, one more important suggestion here is whenever you do any stuff from the table and you are going to get any error, the first approach and the first step that you should do is just go to SE14 and try to click on this activate and adjust database. Meanwhile, this persist data radio button should be there. Otherwise, if you will select this one, data will be deleted simply. So just select this one and click on activate and adjust and then go and check it if it is working or not. Okay, because you are creating these tables for the very first time. I am like creating this table for the million time. Okay, I don't know how much tables I've created till now. So there is a possibility you are going to create cause a lot of errors while performing any changes with these things. So whenever you get any pop-up or error, just go to SE14, go for activate and adjust, and then go back to your system and see if this error has been removed or not. Okay, because there is a possibility you might have not activated anything or you have performed some changes, and because of that, that error will be coming here. Okay.
This utility will also will have to be deactivated once we are done using it, or
Deactivated? No, 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 no. What
so it just
deactivated?
occurs only once.
This is just a interface now. It is not a object. Here I'm simply passing my table. I clicked on activate and adjust so that if any adjusted is being done on the this particular ABAP dictionary, that adjustment can be saved over the database. So I simply saved the adjustment there and then I activated my table. So once we have like the same stuff, same amount of data on the data dictionary and same thing over our database, then there will be no inconsistencies and my system will work in a smooth way, right?
Mhm.
And you will get this
And
status active. Okay, anything
in
else?
this case, when you reduce the number of characteristics or characters, what happens to the fields which have more than 30?
Oh, that particular section will not be stored, then only 30 amount of data will be stored. Okay, the
Yeah.
rest of the thing will not be stored. We will see in the program when you will like create let's say you are creating a variable with 10 character and you are trying to store there 20 characters, only 10 will be stored then. Okay, rest will
Okay.
not be able to store. That is why there is a variable data type also. We can use the variable per data type. So if we don't know for that particular thing, we will discuss it in ABAP programming separately. Okay.